there we are. I am live. Just making sure that my microphone is closed so you can hear what I'm saying. There we are. Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining another sketchbook session. What we're going to do today is we are going to sketch together. You can put some suggestions or ideas or questions in the chat and I will answer them or follow along. And what we're going to do is sketch in our sketchbook. I'm just going to use one pen. I have one really simple brush pen, one that I really love and that I use a lot, which I'm going to use today. And we're going to use references from Pinterest. So this is my Pinterest board. I just shared a link with you in the chat. So if you want to go to my Pinterest board and see the reference that I'm going to draw from, feel free to go to the same board. You can also see them on screen, but it's a little bit easier sometimes to see that a bit larger on your own screen. So this is what we're going to do. Sketch and draw from these reference photos. So there we go. I'm going to start on this side because this was my live session in my creative community yesterday, and I have a bit of space on that page, so this is where I'm going to start. So I'm just quickly making sure that all my setup is working, and then we will start sketching together. So see, my microphone is a bit on screen. So sorry, I'm bumping into my microphone. There we go. Everything is sharp, so let's get started. I am going to pick my first picture, this one. So you can see I'm using Pinterest. If you want to follow along and you want to know what photos I'm using, feel free to go to my Pinterest board. I've just shared it in the chat. You should be it. Reference photos. Remember that if you use Pinterest photos, that it's okay to practice in your sketchbook with, and it's okay to just have fun and to sketch from. But at the same time, a lot of photos on Pinterest are licensed. You cannot use them for any commercial purposes. So just for practice is okay, but you cannot use them for selling any of your artwork or for commercial purposes. There we go. So what I'm going to use is this brush pen, and the brush pen that I'm using is from a brand called Pentel, but you can use any pen or pencil, a sketch pencil or a ballpoint pen or any pen that you prefer. This exercise is not about the type of pen that you're using, it is about just having fun and sketching together and loosening up today. Hello Linda, really lovely to see you. Thank you for joining in today. If you have any questions at any point, let me know. So when I'm sketching with my brush pen, I tend to sketch quite loose. So I'm just quickly showing you some sketches that I did earlier this week. This was just from some children's references, playing around just to practice. And I love drawing in pen. And the reason why I love it is that every line that you make is permanent and stays on the paper. There's no do-overs, there's no eraser, you cannot tinker. And that might sound a little bit scary, and in the beginning it was. But I find it actually really freeing. See, there we go. So I'm just starting somewhere. I pick a point on this picture and I start somewhere. And it's absolutely fine if your drawing is going to be super wonky. We're not going for super realism at the moment. We're just practicing our observation skills and having some fun with it. Just try and focus on the large lines that you're noticing. And also embrace a little bit of this wonkiness. See, this is the baby bear. I love drawing bears. I have done this before. So it's a little paw. And I'm really just trying to focus on the main shapes that I'm noticing. Don't worry about any of the details and any of those finer details. If you go off the page as I'm doing now, that is also fine. Then just let that happen. Try not to squeeze everything onto the page if it doesn't fit. So there we go. So I'm just trying to focus on the main lines and the main shapes that I'm seeing in a picture without without trying to do it perfect. Perfectionism is the killer of creativity. We're really not trying to make this perfect. What we're doing is just seeing what the main shapes are. You can see that with a few lines you can already convey the type of creature that you're drawing. You don't always need to add in loads of detail to show that something is a bear or a dog or a cat or whatever animal that you're drawing. So I'm adding in a little bit of the texture for that tree. And you can see that the pen that I'm using is quite rough. This is a brush pen. I can use this for quite sort of dark lines. You can see I can press down and create a really thick line, or I use the tip and then use a thinner line. So maybe I want to go around that bear a little bit. So if I really press down on it, it's almost like a paint. So it's quite a unique material. And of course you don't have to do this. I was planning to just do lines, but I just want to quickly show you what I use this pen for. So I often add in a bit of shadow or something as well. So see, there we go. We have a little bear. So I think that might be enough for a first sketch. If you want to add in a few little more details. Well, I think for a little warm-up, I'm quite happy with that already. So let's pick a next picture. And again, I'm just going back to this Pinterest board. I picked some photos already to start with. These were from an earlier session a few weeks ago where we were drawing feet. So if you do any of my YouTube sketch sessions, you can always scroll down and find the reference photo on that board. So let's do this one. I thought this was super cute. And I really liked that photo. So I'm just going to go next to this. I'm sort of filling the page up. I don't need to think about composition too much, all these complicated things. So I'm just going for the first shape. And if this is new to you and you find it quite hard to sketch like this, really loose without any like pencil sketches first or anything, that's okay. It's okay to challenge yourself a little bit and to do something that might be a bit difficult or a bit different for you. So I just hope you find it a bit liberating as well. So that's the little eye, this is the ear, this is the other one. So the ears have a bit of shadow in it. And maybe the eyes are roughly here. Going around it. So this is something that I practiced at quite a lot. And if you find it difficult, that's okay, just lean into it. If you have any animals that you would like to draw today, let me know, because I can quickly search for them and add them to the list. I'm just quickly checking if everything is working here as well. I can always add an animal to the list if you have something that you'd really like to draw. Let me know, because for me it doesn't really matter what animals I draw, and I want to show you that you can draw anything. Today we're picking animals because I love drawing animals and wildlife, but I was thinking of doing sessions like this with different type of objects as well. But dog, yeah, I had some dogs earlier on the I have some on my board as well. Is there a specific dog that you'd like to draw? I'll see if I can find it. Add it to my board. So see, this one is a bit curious here. And when I sketch this way, I know beforehand that my sketches are going to be wonky. And that's what I like about it as well. When I sketch things for if I sketch things for like a commission or for clients, sometimes there's a lot of pressure of making something that looks great. And sometimes that pressure makes that my drawings are not very great. Labrador, yeah, I'll have a look, see. I'm sure I can find lots of Labrador pictures. Sometimes that pressure of creating something that looks really great is not very helpful. It makes me feel really stiff and it makes my drawings less good than if I am more loose. So I know that I don't really like to talk about good drawings or bad drawings and the comparison between the two, because I think every drawing has a place, but of course sometimes drawings don't turn out the way I want them to. And that happens. Let me have a quick look. Is that how you write Labrador? There we go. Let's see if I can find one that has a bit of a movement instead of sitting still. I like this one. So I'll save that to my animal drawing references board. And let me see if I can find another one. I can do 2. I think they all look really cute, to be honest. Ooh, this one. I like them. Challenge ourselves a little bit with these pictures. So, there we go. See, I've added them to the board. So I'm going to go to the next page and start drawing these dogs. There we go. Next page. This sketchbook starts to fill up quite nicely. Oh, there's a hair. The sketchbook starts to fill up quite nicely, and I'm over halfway already, so there will be a sketchbook tour on YouTube at some point. So, there we go, the little Labrador that I just picked. So, my pen again. And I think you might get an entire page. I like the shape, and I think it fits quite nicely on this page. So, there we go. Whenever I am drawing, and I actually just wrote a blog post about this as well, I think the main thing that helps you become better at art is to learn how to look at the large shapes instead of the details. So they've got these funny eyebrows, don't they? So try and focus on the large shapes first before you go into the details. Because the more you focus on the details, the harder it becomes to keep an eye on the proportions. So sometimes I need to focus for a moment. So this is the chest. So, and then this could be the leg. These paws are really big in the angle that we're looking at this. I believe everyone is creative and everyone can draw. I know you see that you're not an artist, but I just don't believe that. I think everyone can draw and everyone is creative. And drawing is, like, you don't have to be able to be good at drawing to be creative. Creativity is something that we all have, and drawing is a skill that you can practice and you can learn. And some people find it a bit easier and some people find it a bit harder. That is true. But everyone, I believe every single person can learn how to draw and also make things that they're happy with and that that brings them joy. So there we have a long foot on this side. Trying to sort of create those, the feet are a bit bigger because they're pointing towards us. I believe that every single person is creative and that everyone can draw. And all it takes is just a bit of practice and a bit of confidence, and also that it's okay to make mistakes. And all kids can draw. If you give a kid a crayon or a pencil, they just start drawing and they make things that are brilliant. And I did some teaching for kids at some point. I usually teach adults, but sometimes I have a group of children for like a party or something. And whenever you draw with kids just say, "Look, I made it and it's brilliant and I'm so happy with it." And that's just wonderful. But adults, they always say, "Oh, I made this, but it's not very good, so don't judge me too harshly and I'm not very happy with it." And they criticize themselves so much. Whilst I wish we could look at our own work the way we did when we were children. So I just noticed that I'm coming off screen a little bit. There you go. If I'm leaning forward. I just wish we would look at our artwork the way we did when we were children and just be a bit kinder to ourselves. But every single person can learn how to draw, and Now, can everyone learn how to draw super realistic? Well, maybe with practice, but there's so many different ways of making art and different types of painting and drawing. You just need to find something that gives you joy and that you love doing. And for some people that's abstract art, for some people that is realism, for some people that's collage, and for some people that is line drawings like I'm doing now. And one is not better than the other. I love doing all of these things. I try not to say, oh, I'm a wildlife artist and that's all I'm doing. I love doing all sorts of art, and I think I said this on here before, but I applied to art school originally when I just finished my high school and I wanted to go to uni, and I applied to art school and then I got rejected. And that bummed me out so much that I stopped making art altogether for years. I had a sketchbook and I made some occasional drawings, but then whenever I made a drawing, it wasn't very good, and then I was not happy with it, or I thought it wasn't very good. I wasn't happy with it, and then I sort of put things away and then stopped drawing again for months. So I made very little art until a few years ago when I started to create every day, and I'm really painting and drawing every single day now. And now I'm a full-time artist, and this is my job to, the YouTube channel is a bit of marketing and fun and a way to paint and draw with people. But yeah, making art and making a living from art is my full-time job now, and I would never have guessed that, 5-10 years ago. So yeah, everyone can learn how to draw, and also you don't have to make a living from art to be an artist. Just draw because you find it fun. So, next picture. This one is quite a difficult angle. So I know that this is very likely going to be a very wonky picture. These really sort of movements, right, weird angles where things look really big because of the lens that's used in the angle. They're much harder to draw than pictures that are sort of straight from the side and really even. That's always easier. But I like to challenge myself a little bit. So I'm picking a more difficult photo, and at the same time I know that that's going to be more wonky, and I'm going to embrace the fact that it's going to be more wonky. So I'm going to approach it exactly the same way, just loose and with no pressure. So I'm just starting somewhere, maybe here on the nose, and I'm just looking at the shape of that nose. So there's a bit of a curve here and a bit of a nostril there. So there we go, we started. Sometimes you just need to start somewhere. So then under the nose is the lip, so that goes that way. So I'm just looking quite closely at what I'm seeing in that photo, and this is just my interpretation of it. So this is sort of the side of the nose. I can add in some freckles. I don't want to go into too much detail. Then the forehead with the eyes is quite close to it, so there's an eye here. Slowly, the ear is a triangle. I'm slowly starting to add in those shapes, and slowly that dog starts to appear without thinking, oh, this all needs to be perfect. So maybe there's a little teeth here, a little tooth. So there we go. So this is the tongue. Tongues are always difficult to draw. This is something that I struggle with. They always look weird and funny. So I'll make this a bit darker on the inside of the mouth. So this is the nice thing about this pen, is that I can go dark quite easily. But if I use the pencil, I can also color that in a little bit. So what I'm trying to do is not focus too much on getting those lines absolutely perfect, but just keeping it loose, because the more I focus on getting it perfect, the harder it is going to be. So the shoulders, I'm talking you through what I'm doing. Here the chest has some hairs. Then we have the front paws, which are quite large because of the angle. So here we go, we have one, and the feet, these little toes. So. And then the other one is sort of here. And does that look like a dog's foot? No, if you just zoom in and you would see this by itself, you wouldn't think, oh, that's a dog. But in like the whole, everything together, I feel like it works quite well. Practice time, that's what this is. So the belly, and then there's a leg here. And I feel like it's getting quite small, but it just fits on the paper, I think. So, and then there's another leg here. Should I give him a bit of a tail? So, there we go. So add in a bit of shadow. There we go. So this is only the second of this series of live sessions. And I am planning to do this every week for the foreseeable future. So every what is the date today? Every Thursday at 3 o'clock I'm going to go live on YouTube, and you're very welcome to join me for a bit of sketching. So maybe next week I'll use a different material. So it's going to be like the clouds. I feel like this part of the arm I'm not so happy with, so I'm just making it a little bit darker. So make the background a bit darker around the dog. If I could add a bit of paint to this, and then you could see the background a little bit better and where the dog is a bit better, but this is okay for now. Thank you, Linda. That's really lovely of you to say. I'm glad you enjoy it. I hope you're enjoying your own sketching practice as well today. Let me quickly check what time it is. Oh, we've got time for a few other pictures. So that's how you can see how my sketchbook gets quite full. So that yeah, if I decide to do that, then that's the last picture that we do. So no paint for now. So we've done the bears, these little raccoons, and then 2 puppies. And then let's do the last, or the next one. I don't know if it's going to be the last quite yet. So, using Instagram for photo, I would use that reference photo for that picture. Like, really mix it up and match and just get some inspiration and change it completely. Or I would use stock photo free websites, or make some sketches and then take those away, and then based on those sketches would make new sketches, and then again change it completely so you wouldn't see what it is that I'm making. So, a little bit better. There we go. I think rhinos are beautiful. They're wonderful creatures. So, you could also do this from your imagination, but it is quite hard sometimes to use your imagination to make art. I do imaginative lessons in my community as well. And I think there's some tricks and ways of doing that and using your imagination that can really free you up in that head. See how where the ear is, and then how much space there is between the ear and the imagine that they sort of carry. So I don't really know what a rhinoceros paint to this later. I can just do that without having to worry that the paint, that the ink blurs out and mixes up with the paint. So that's a really nice side effect of this brush. So if you do want to combine your sketches with paint or with color at any point, make sure that your ink is waterproof. Should I add in another rhino? Maybe here, a bit smaller. So. This is all a little bit distorted. Sometimes I find it easier to draw a little bit smaller, a little bit bigger if you gives you a bit more space to figure out what's going on. But I feel like even this really wonky scribble still looks like a rhino, so there's still... See? I don't think it looks like a rhino, like a rhinoceros, even it is a bit wonky. There we go. And something that I did not mention yet is that you always need to warm up your drawing. And I think a lot of people forget this. Your first drawings of the day are not usually very good. The first drawings of the day tend to be really wonky and a bit off, or they, your lines are really stiff. Or the more you draw throughout the day, the easier it gets. So you warm up and it becomes easier to get into that flow and to find that creative flow. So know that your first drawing is like baking pancakes. The first pancake is always a mess, sticks to the pen, does not come out well, and then the next one is going to be better, and then by the third one you find your rhythm and then your pancakes are amazing. So drawing is a bit similar to making pancakes. It just takes some time to warm up, so allow yourself to do that. I quite like this board. So this is just, I've not saved these, this is just based on that scrolling down after that rhinoceros. So I do one more. So just making sure you can see it. I think this line is really nice, although I've drawn quite a lot of lines recently. I might go for it anyway because I like the picture. Let me save it to the board. There we go, a nice clear picture of this line. So, sometimes I just need to take a little break to make sure everything's working. And that you can see everything okay, so there we go. So that's going to take most of the page, and of course a line has lots of hairs around it that stick out in all different directions. So the main line that I want to get right is that line for the nose, and then those hairs, they are not less important, but there's a bit more freedom in changing those up and experimenting a little bit. So maybe I'll add a bit of color to this one as well. So this is the forehead, then this is the eye on that side where there is a bit of eyelashes. This is the nose, so you might not even recognize this yet, and that is okay. It's nice to draw a little bit bigger as well. My camera should come back in a sec. So let me... Yep. There we are again. Sometimes my camera turns off for a second. So there's a bit of shadow here. You're starting to recognize the animal yet? So the eye is sort of in line with that end of the nose. So it sort of starts there. Now what I'm noticing is a bit of a triangle shape. Again, this is not the first time I've drawn a lion, so these shapes are a bit more familiar to me. See, there we go. He does look a little bit angry. I wasn't quite happy with where I put those eyelashes, so I'm moving those down, but I'll just leave that old line in there. I'm not going to try and change that. So I'll just see if I see how I can use my brush almost to dry brush with. That is something that I like to do as well for that texture. I think I might have a brush here behind me with some water in it. Means no painting for now. To this page. To just have fun with it. Travel is just for fun. To put my brush in my tea. So after this session I'll just have to clean my brush somewhere else. So I think I'm going to keep the animals white and just add a bit of color to the outside. So you can see I'm using my color quite thick. And then I can squeeze this brush a bit to add some water. I think when people use watercolor paint, they often use the paint very diluted with lots of water. If you want to create vibrant colors, bright and vibrant colors, I recommend adding a lot of pigment and only a little bit of water. See, there we go. For a bit of quick impact, maybe I'll add in a little bit of that orange here. It's a bit of a splash of color. There we go. And I find it quite fun. So by adding a little bit of color, suddenly this becomes like an artwork, a painting, instead of a doodle on the page. So I'm just making sure that the paint doesn't go over the edge. So, and then let me add some color to this side as well. If you're still sketching, that is fine. You have time to finish your sketch. So maybe I'll add a bit of green to this side. So if I add some green around these two, it will separate the two rhinos a little bit more. So I've had still a bit of orange on that brush, and that's okay. I'm quite a messy artist. I don't mind if my paints mix up a little bit and I have some green and some orange and it mixes up together. I often feel like that creates the most fun mixes of color. So around this one here. There we go. You can see it's all very fast. When people say they don't have enough time to make art, I always wonder what they want to make. Because some things take lots of time. But once you're a little bit practiced in doing things fast, you can incorporate art in your life so easily. Like, how long have I been painting now or drawing now? Maybe half an hour. If I could check the time, yeah, it's 39, so a little bit more than half an hour. And I've completed all these pages, and it's actually quite a fast way of doing it. So if you only want to do one page, you only need 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then art can be very fast. Shall we have a quick look at what we have been doing so far? So these are still really wet. I'm not going to close this, I'm going to let this dry. You can see it's dripping here as well. So we have our lion, the rhinoceroses, and these two dogs. Careful, this is dripping. These 2 dogs. And then this page here at the bottom. So, quickly open this again before it all drips everywhere. Although I don't mind if the colors mix up a little bit. I think you get the gist now. I don't mind if things become a little bit messy. So, well, thank you so much for joining in. Let me know in the comments what you think and if you want to do more of these type of pictures. If there's a specific topic you'd like to practice, you can also see on my channel that I do lots of different type of art. I also do watercolor painting or landscapes, more realistic things as well. So if there's something you'd like to practice, make sure you let me know, because that way I know what you would like to learn and what I can focus on. These sessions are all fairly fast because I do longer classes and things to teach, where I teach full classes. But so this is all going to be relatively fast. Thank you so much for joining in, and I really hope you are well and that you're doing great. And I hope to see you again soon. We're doing this again next week, so if you want to join again, tune in and I'll see you there. Bye bye.